Welcome to the podcast.
Episode 2.
Yeah, second one. I'm Paul.
I'm Tanner.
And with us, as always, except that we only have one podcast, is our special guest, Cole, our brother. Hello. Welcome. So this podcast, we are going to talk about our favorite movies. And I will just start with mine. Harry Potter. No,
right after we tore into the movies.
Just kidding. That is definitely not mine. We're actually going to have Cole start again, since he's the guest.
Okay. Well, this took a lot of thought for years on end.
Is this what you think about every night?
Yes. I decided mine is Inception.
What?
Just because, I
Surprising?
I don't know.
and
No.
and my friend said this, and I felt the same way. Was first time he saw it, he was like, "What the heck did I just watch?" And then the second time, his mind was just blown away.
That's Christopher Nolan for you.
Yep.
And I think I heard that the writer of that movie spent 10 years writing it, which...
Really?
Yeah, it's Christopher Nolan.
He wrote it?
Yeah, he writes almost all of his movies. I don't know if he wrote the Dark Knight trilogy, but he wrote like The Prestige and Inception. And
Have you seen Memento?
No.
I've heard of
I've
it.
heard it.
My.
I've heard it so
You
much.
should watch it edited, but
Yeah.
it is awesome.
Is that the one about the guy who forgets?
Yeah, so he
every
has
day
to...
and
No,
the
it's
la-
not every day. It's like 2 minutes.
It's like Dory.
Oh my god.
So he has to take pictures and write things so he remembers, and if it's something like long term that he knows he needs to remember forever, he tattoos it on himself.
Really?
Yeah.
And how they did the movie was so cool because they started at the very end, the very last scene.
I love it
and
when
then
they
it
do
goes
that.
like every scene it jumps up like a few hours or something, and then it shows that scene, so you know how the scene before you watched actually happens, and then it jumps up again.
So it's like it almost
So
feels
you
like
see
you
the
have
end.
short-term memory loss or whatever.
Yeah,
my-
because if
that's
it
so
seems
cool.
like you
Oh my
because you have
gosh,
no
that's-
idea what's happening in the scene. You're like, how is this? How did he get here? How's that happening? And then after that scene, it jumps up to the scene before and shows you that scene, and it just
so
keeps
cool.
jumping up until you finally figure out, because he's basically solving a murder, trying to solve a murder the whole time.
Oh yeah.
And so the murder is obviously the first scene, but you don't see it until the end. And it just keeps jumping up scene after scene after scene. It's so cool. But
I
anyway,
heard he's remaking it.
Really?
Yeah,
No.
I think that's his next movie is a remake of
Memento?
Memento.
No.
How
way.
come?
Isn't
I don't know.
it kind of old?
Isn't
Yeah.
Memento kind of old?
Early.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of his
2000s.
earlier. But
Oh, 2000.
I don't know why he would, because it's so good.
I don't know.
I need to see it. I think we can all agree Christopher Nolan's the best director ever.
Yes. I've been saying that for a long time.
I might disagree with you
Oh, okay.
with my movie.
Okay.
But go ahead.
I know what movie you like. Just I've noticed every single time I watch that movie, I learn something new. It's like the scriptures.
Cole's going to start a new religion where they just watch Inception every week at church.
And I love how much controversy that causes with people with that movie.
spinning
yeah,
top.
and I mean, looking at that whole scene of how you can't touch someone else's totem or else it doesn't work anymore. So
Yeah,
we
and that
all
was her
are-
totem, right?
yeah, we all argue
Yeah.
that was hers and he's using it, it doesn't work. And then people say, but she's dead now, so it passed on to him. And we're like, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
And it just, and it like adds so much symbolic stuff, like how he wakes up with on the beach and there's a cliff with a house on it. and then the next and then the next what are the
Scene?
the next, what is it called, level?
Oh,
The next level, whether he goes back up or down. He gets off the plane to see his kid, and his kid says, "I was making a house on a cliff," and it's just like, is this a dream or what? Like, I think he's dreaming.
Yeah,
at the
because
end,
what's her
just
name
because-
says they're memories.
Yeah.
But okay, so do you guys think he is is in reality or is dreaming?
I kind of think that he's he's dreaming.
Tanner?
I
I have a theory.
think he's awake.
You do?
Yeah.
So I think he's dreaming, but I don't think it's the entire movie. I think everything happened until what's his fate? He goes to that professor.
His father or father-in-law or whatever.
Is that who it is?
I think so.
Oh,
Oh yeah, his father-in-law.
the professor, and he's like desperate. And I think his father-in-law makes him start dreaming. So basically the whole movie is he is dreaming. And
So Ariadne's
A projection.
yeah.
who?
Ariadne,
the girl.
the five head.
Are you talking about his wife?
No, the
The girl that designs the maze.
the architect.
Oh,
goes
yeah,
on the
yeah,
whole
yeah. So all of
adventure
that
with him.
is designed so that he thinks he's actually getting back to his kids. So, like, the professor who's like, isn't he like super good at it or something? And he's like, I don't do that anymore.
Let's watch it.
It's your favorite movie, you should know. So my theory is that professor sees how miserable he is, and that he knows he's never going to be able to get back to his kids, and so he designs this whole thing to make him feel like he has to go through all these struggles and stuff until he finally gets back to his kids.
Yeah.
That's my theory.
Okay.
I don't know.
I think it was all going according to plan. I just don't think that, because when they die in that strong thing that keeps them asleep, when they die they go into a limbo. I think that it didn't wear off in time and he just went deeper when he gets shot by what's his face.
He gets shot?
Yeah, I remember
At the end when he's like,
he goes into
"Take
the
a leap of
house.
faith, come back with me," and they hands a gun to the one guy, old Asian guy, gets a gun.
I don't remember that.
They supposedly shoot themselves to wake up.
Yeah.
Well, Cole thinks
Saito.
they don't wake up. Saito.
So you think when they shot him, he didn't wake up? He just
Yeah.
went deeper.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you go back to Limbo that he built?
Oh yeah. What, he was there
Wasn't
though.
he kind of in? Yeah, he was already in Limbo that he built.
When they shot?
Yeah,
Oh.
because if you go to Limbo, then you go to whatever was left by
Whoever was
anyone
there
who was there
before.
before.
Oh,
And
wait
so
a-
they were already in his old Limbo.
Wait a minute.
So,
So would
yeah.
he just go into a place that had nothing then? He wouldn't. Oh, I
He
might be.
go to who knows what's beyond Limbo.
I don't know. I might discard that theory.
I don't know, though, because it never says you can't kill yourself in Limbo to wake up, because that's how you get there, is because...
Eventually,
Something.
everybody else killed.
It's so confusing, that whole movie. But
I
that's why
actually-
it's awesome, too.
I actually just showed that. Me and a group of friends showed one of our friends who hadn't seen it yet, and her mind was blown. And at the end, I kind of played devil's advocate. I was like, "So is he awake or asleep?" And she's like, "I don't know. Is he awake?" And then I had to well, but this and this and this, so maybe he's asleep. And she's like, "Okay, is he asleep?" Well, but
Yeah. You can argue both ways. That's what's so cool about it.
Yeah, and I remember showing The Prestige to Doug, my friend, this one day, and
Wait, you can't skip over movies.
I'm saying,
Is The Prestige Christopher Nolan?
yeah.
Oh.
And I was like, so what did you think? And he just like had no emotion in his face. He's like, I just saw Inception this morning, so my mind is just completely...
His mind was mush by the time he watched that. All right.
So,
Inception.
yeah, I guess that's all the thought I have on the matter.
So you just like it because it's so deep.
Yes.
And there's tons of meanings and stuff like that. All right, Tanner.
Well, mine is along the same lines.
No.
Mine actually used to be Inception, but then I saw Interstellar.
I knew it.
And now
Oh.
Interstellar is my favorite.
So we got 2 Christopher Nolan fans.
Best director of all time.
He's one of them.
Cannot be beat. Yeah, I love Inception because it took Christopher Nolan like 10 years to write the whole thing, and it's so complex. And it was like his first, well, it wasn't his first like big movie, but it was like the
His
movie
breakout.
where
Gosh, how many awards did they get for Inception? I remember watching the Oscars, and they went up there like 1,000 times to accept an award.
I feel like they got nominated for a ton, but they didn't even get Best Picture. He lost to King's Speech or whatever. So
Yeah.
dumb. But
Haven't even seen it.
Interstellar, I love. I think just because like I like space, like just the thought
Interstellar's
of
so cool.
yeah.
It blew my mind when I saw it in theaters, and I was, yeah.
I don't know, just
Awesome.
infinite space, just never ending space. Just thinking about it, like, is just so cool to me. And then you throw in time. Time is like one
A
of my
construct.
favorite, constructs in like movies. Like one of my favorite old movies is Back to the Future because of all the time jumps and stuff, and you have to figure out like, I don't know. It's just I love time,
Yeah.
thinking about it and thinking about space, and so they worked both of that into Interstellar just so awesome. Like,
It's cool how, like they really like consulted with like physicists and stuff like
Yeah.
that for like black holes and like what gravity does to time and stuff like that.
it's a realistic movie.
Yeah.
With a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I love that. And maybe this isn't the first movie. I love that, like, on a lot of movies, when they go back in time, they change something and then come back. But on that, it's like him changing the past that already happened. Like with the book just flying off the
Yeah.
bookcase, that was him just
Yeah.
slamming it, saying, "Don't go."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was crazy.
the whole, like, not only is it cool because of like time and space and stuff, but like the whole emotional, like, I don't know,
Oh yeah.
the emotions that they display in the movie are like some of the best screenwritten emotions I've ever seen. Like,
That's like, I'm not a fan of Matthew McConaughey, but
Why?
he's good in that one.
yeah.
I just don't like him at all.
Angels in the outfield.
I forgot he was in that.
He's the one who
Okay.
does the big catch.
I like him in that one too.
I mean, he's hardly anywhere.
I just don't like.
For 2 seconds, but
Oh, it's getting
Usually I
hot.
don't like his acting, but I don't know. That one, that movie was so good that
But yeah,
I could look over that.
the emotional strain of like, and it like blew my mind. Probably one of the first like times they actually did it was when they get back to the ship after they're on that planet for a couple hours, and they find out that like 20 years has gone by. Like, there's
Oh
not
my
really,
gosh.
they don't leave any clues, they don't leave any hints. It just like happens, and so when it happens, it's like
You can feel it.
you're
just
like
"Holy
shocked
crap."
as much as they are, and you're like,
Oh yeah, and
his kids are grown up. His
Yeah.
son has a son.
they come back to that black scientist, and he's all old, and they're like, "What happened to?" He's like, "I waited for years."
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I think they did great with that.
was-
And then just the whole Dr. Man, they go to his planet, and he's kind of like just been driven crazy with isolation, and
Yeah.
I don't know. They do an awesome, and then he goes inside the black hole, and there's a tesseract where he can like talk to his daughter, and he like loves her so much, and he's trying to get himself to stay. And
I think that's cool how they portrayed time.
Yeah.
Like how it's literally like he could go to any moment and
Yeah.
like physically touch it. And because I think that might be how it actually is, like in the next life. Not exactly like that, but like how time
Oh boy.
does not work the same
Yeah.
at all as we have here. So it was just really cool.
There's a scripture in Doctrine and Covenants somewhere that says like God.
We're podcasting.
You locked it.
Our mom is interrupting.
What?
We're podcasting.
Okay.
Do you wanna give a shout out?
What's your favorite movie, Mom?
It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life.
What do you know?
That's our wonderful mother.
All right.
Bye.
And she's gone.
Yeah, but I feel like
By the way, we're podcasting out of my mom's basement in Cole's room.
I don't know. I think that one was just my favorite, not just because they worked time and space into this complex plot. Like, it's like Inception, but with time and space. But they also focus so much on just emotions, which I
Yeah.
thought was cool. They focus on the emotion of like Anne Hathaway's character being in love with what's her face and being drawn
yeah.
to him, and I don't know. It was just awesome.
The thing I didn't like about it was the coordinates. Like when they find that it's like coordinates to a location.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, first of all, who was that? Because it wasn't him, was it? Or it was him.
What are you talking about?
You know, the dust or whatever.
Yeah.
That was him. When the dust was falling into sections, I think he reached his hand out and divided to make it go into sections.
So first of all, how did he know how to do that into the sections, like, so that it would be coordinates? And then second of all, if NASA was, I mean, they're top secret or whatever, but wouldn't they, like, know? I think they kind of explained it in the movie, like they thought he was dead or something, but why would they not recruit him? They're like, you're the best pilot we've ever had, like, when he's just
I think-
living like a day away.
I don't know. I think they just had their plans to like, we're gonna send these people that have been training for it, and like we're gonna do this and this and this, and then all of a sudden,
He
the
showed
best
up.
pilot they've ever had that they like kind of forgot about just like
How,
falls into
that's
the
what
lap
I'm
and,
saying
like,
though. How do
did
they
you-
kind of forget about the best pilot they ever had? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
okay, so the Earth is destroying crops. That doesn't mean people just disappear and they have, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was the only thing that bugged me. Like, okay, he's
What was-
living like a truck ride away from the NASA headquarters and they don't even know he exists. Like, I think they mentioned something, but it like never made sense to me.
Why did he name his daughter Murph?
Murphy's Law.
That's like an insult.
It's not. They explain that. There's a whole conversation. Come on, Cole.
Well, everything bad that can
No,
happen.
it's
will.
anything that can happen will, according to him. I don't know. Whatever.
I've looked it up. There's multiple meanings.
Wasn't that part significant for something? I remember watching that, and then you notice something in that scene.
I
You're
think
like,
they
"Oh
bring
my
it up
gosh,
again."
this movie's amazing."
Something happens and someone says Murphy's Law or something later on.
They get a flat tire and
No. I'm
Oh.
talking about like in space or something. Someone brings it up.
I don't think so.
Well, okay, Mr. Know-It-All.
It's my favorite movie. I would know. Just kidding now.
All right.
Tom will be alright, but you
I
gotta
also-
make things right with Murph. Say
Also, one of the coolest things about that movie I remember in the theaters was when he ejects from his
oh,
little plane thing, and it's just him in the middle of space.
Yeah.
And like that feeling of just nothing for light years around you.
Yeah. Which
And you're just not even in a like plane, like a spaceship or anything. You're just floating there. Like
God.
seeing that in theaters was just the coolest feeling.
Yeah.
Like,
I was blown away when they went
And you
into
could
the
just-
wormhole.
Yeah.
That-
But in
that
that scene, you
feeling-
could just hear his breathing, and that was it. Like nothing, no music, nothing, just silence except his breathing. They did that really well.
Yeah. Which my favorite scene from that whole movie is when they're like just leaving on their voyage. They're flying to Jupiter or whatever because that's where the wormhole is. And he walks past the black guy's room. We should come up with a name for him. I forgot what his name is.
I can't remember.
Whatever, the black guy. He walks past his room and he's just kind of like sitting there. He's like, "Hey, what's up?" And he's like, "This gets to me, Cooper." And then he like knocks on the thing. He's like, "Just a few centimeters of aluminum and then nothing for millions of miles."
Yeah.
And then he has the whole analogy. Well, some of the finest solo yachtsmen in the world can't swim, so if they go overboard, they're done.
Yeah.
And then he gives him his headphones, and
He
it's like a
hears cricket,
thunderstorm.
yeah.
Crickets in
Oh,
a thunderstorm, and then it shows like the ship just in space, but you hear just crickets in a thunderstorm. Like that whole thing is just
They did it really well
yeah,
to show
I
like the
love-
expanse of space.
yeah.
I liked their explanation for why the wormhole is a sphere, 3-dimensional.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Cool.
Favorite movie.
All right, mine. Do you remember, Cole?
Yeah.
What do you think it is?
Cinderella Man.
Yes.
That was my favorite.
Cinderella Man. What do you mean? Oh gosh,
No, it's awesome. I
it's
love
so
that movie.
good. So that's what I was gonna say. Is Ron Howard is probably my favorite director, but I don't know. Him and Christopher Nolan are like
I've
tied.
only seen 3 from his: That, Beautiful Mind, and The Grinch.
What about Apollo 13? Or
Let's
did
see.
you not watch that?
I
with us?
didn't watch it.
Oh.
I should have. Now that it.
Google Ron Howard movies.
I'm looking it up on IMDb.
Dad
right
told
now.
Okay.
me about one called Cocoon.
Cocoon.
I think that's what it's called. Somehow it was like some alien movie, and
Yeah.
these old people washed in some bathtub and were getting younger. Sounds interesting.
So Cinderella Man. The reasons it's my favorite, first of all, Russell Crowe is my favorite actor.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Second of all,
Mine is Steve Carell.
Do the Steve Carell yell.
I can't believe it
Lean
actually
back from the
sounds
mic.
like
Yeah.
this. I love it.
hopefully that didn't blow the speaker. Okay. So yeah, Russell Crowe is amazing. And it's just one of those movies that has tons of moral and values,
Yeah.
and they don't make movies
Yeah.
like that anymore.
They
like
don't.
it's all just action and
And politics.
yeah, I guess. But like this movie, so they have action obviously with the boxing, and it's one of the most intense like sports movies, I guess you could call it, I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like we saw it in theaters, and I think that's the only movie I've stood up and cheered. Like
Really?
the whole theater was like freaking out.
Oh
Like we were
my
on
gosh.
the end of our seats during the last boxing match, and when he won, like everyone stood up.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah,
I can see
it was
that.
crazy.
Oh my gosh.
And like
I'm just getting chills thinking of that.
it's so good. Like the boxing scenes are so good
Yeah.
and intense. So there's that side of it, and then the other side that I love is just the values that it teaches, like how to be a father.
Yeah.
Like when his son steals the salami and he makes him go back, like takes him back and has him apologize to the guy, the butcher, even though they don't have any food. And so like there's that, and there's him dealing with his friend's husband that's like
Oh my gosh.
Mike
yeah.
or whatever, that like gets drunk and like is gonna
It looks like he's gonna hit his wife.
Yeah,
And he
and-
stops it.
yeah. And just the fact that like they have nothing and he still keeps his values and like doesn't
Yeah.
steal and like teaches his family like the right way to live even though they have nothing is just so good.
I like
Yeah.
Tanner's favorite scene from it. I remember him telling.
Yeah, my favorite scene's when he's fighting, I think Lasky is his name or whatever, but it's like Lasky is the number one contender for heavyweight championship of the world. He's not fighting the champion yet, but
It's the white guy, right?
yeah, it's the white guy.
Yeah.
He's fighting him, and he's just kind of getting pounded. And eventually, at one part, he gets knocked in the face, and his mouth guard flies out. And as it's like hitting the tarp or whatever, it's like getting flashbacks of like his kids leaving and his milk bills being overdue and stuff like that. And it just
my
like shows like how serious the situation is. If he doesn't make it as a boxer, then that's what he has to go back to. And so he like, as he's walking to go get it, he looks over at the boxer who's like all proud of himself and like bouncing and stuff, and he just looks over at him and he just like
Smiles.
has this grin.
As blood is dripping out of his mouth.
Blood's dripping out of his mouth. He's like being beaten to a pulp.
That
He's
gives me
walking to go get his
chills
mouth
everywhere.
guard. And like the music matches it perfectly,
Yeah.
and he just like smiles over at him, and he like the other boxer's whole demeanor just drops. He like stops
He's like,
bouncing.
"Oh
and he starts
my."
like, what the heck?
And then he just gets destroyed after
Yeah.
that. Oh, it's so good.
Like, I don't know. It's so good.
Audience cheering. The only time I experienced that was when Tanner and I saw Infinity War. It was just funny. And it got me so into the movie.
Well, that's because Infinity War has like a million parts where they pause specifically for the audience to cheer. But, you know. Marvel.
We'll get into Marvel later. Another episode. Yeah, and so there's another scene that is so cool so he eventually has to go. There's so many scenes that make me cry in this movie. Like, so I hate that part about it, but like when he goes, he has to go beg the former boxing people for money because I think that's when she sent his kids to her sister's house, and he's like, I promised him that like we would never be separated.
Oh, yeah.
And so then he has to go beg for money from all the boxing people.
Oh, yeah.
And it just is so sad. But then and then he goes on welfare or whatever, so the government gives him some money. And then when he starts boxing again and like making more money, he goes and brings back a wad of cash to the welfare office.
Yeah.
And she's like, you don't need to give that back. And I can't remember what he says, but basically he's like, well, when they're asking him about it later in the interview, he's like, well, we live in a great country where the government helps us out, and so I just thought I should give it back. It's just so cool. There's so many parts in that are awesome that you don't see in movies anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my favorite.
So Ron Howard, though, you think Ron Howard's a better director than Christopher Nolan?
I didn't say better, just my favorite movies. Did he direct Gladiator?
No.
Who was Gladiator?
I don't know.
What, didn't that have Russell Crowe?
Yeah, Russell Crowe's in that too.
Of course.
Beautiful Mind was crazy, too.
Yeah. I was like, it's kind of like, we might talk about this later in an episode or in another podcast, but I compare Christopher Nolan and Ron Howard to Jimmy Eat World and Muse. Let me explain.
Okay.
So like
I have 1 minute on this.
30 seconds.
Uh-oh.
All right, so
Should I-
Muse, if it runs out, you can come over and talk into this one.
Okay.
Muse, Cole's mic is running out of space. So Muse is by far more talented than Jimmy Eat World, right?
Yeah.
And they're they're amazing. But Jimmy Eat World makes songs that I absolutely love. Like they're not they're not nearly as talented, but their songwriting, it just gets to me.
Yeah.
Like
And
Night
so-
Drive. That's my favorite song by them.
Night Drive.
Yeah.
It would be. So, that's kind of how I view. Why is your thing counting up now?
It's been counting up for a while.
Anyways, so Christopher Nolan is an amazing director, right? And like creates these super intricate, detailed plots that are just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Which is like Muse's music. Where Ron Howard creates movies that are just, they have that quality that's like not that like crazy detailed or like intricate plot lines or anything like that, but I just love his movies so much.
Those are straight from the heart.
They're straight from the heart. So that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I don't know which one I like better. They're just different to me.
So the director of Gladiator is Ridley Scott.
Oh,
Yeah.
That sounds familiar.
I love The Gladiator.
But like Ron Howard directed like Solo, a Star Wars story. Like, come on.
I haven't even seen that.
It's okay.
What other movie
Wait.
says he directed?
He's
Ron
directed-
Howard did Solo?
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Really?
Yeah. That's one of my favorite Star Wars movies.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. In your face.
He also did. So he's done Cinderella Man.
I saw that Beatles one
Oh, yeah.
at my school. They did a showing. They showed it at 8 schools across the country,
Really?
and I went to one.
Lucky.
And like the CEO of Apple Corps, which is the like, it's not a record. It's like a media company that the Beatles started. Came and like talked to us after about it and stuff.
Dang.
It was cool.
That's cool. Yeah, he did the Da Vinci Code trilogy.
I like those.
Those are okay.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. The whole puzzle thing is cool, but like, as movies, they're not my favorite.
Yeah. Same here.
I would take the Da
I
Vinci
love the
Code.
books.
I need to read the books.
I would take the Da Vinci Code so I could burn the Da Vinci Code.
Thank you, Angela.
Frost Nixon was good. Have you seen that? Cinderella Man.
Yes, mother.
I already took my pills.
Wow. Okay. Beautiful Mind. Apollo 13. Willow.
Wait, that's Ron Howard?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Or was he
movies-
in that?
No, this is directed by.
Oh, okay.
Willow? Seems like he has amazing movies,
Apollo
and then
13.
occasionally he'll just
Okay,
do
so
a
there's not
weird
that
one.
many that I like, but I love A Beautiful Mind and Cinderella Man.
Yeah.
Those are two of my favorite movies ever, so. Okay,
Okay.
Christopher Nolan wins, so what?
No.
But did you get my analogy?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a good analogy.
Straight from the mind and straight from the heart.
All right, I think that's a good place to end. Unless anyone else has any other thoughts.
Yeah.
All right, we will talk to you next time. How do you end a podcast?
I don't know.
We don't see them.
See you next time.
We don't see them or hear them.
Yeah, talk to you next time. I don't know.
Talk to you next podcast.
You should come up with an ending. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
Hey, brother.
No, we're gonna get sued. Okay, next podcast. Tune in.
Cool.
All right, bye.